Okay, hey there. This is a very quick tutorial on box pleating. Now the best way to learn how to do this is to just go find crease patterns and fold them as much as you possibly can, and then you'll start to get an idea of exactly how everything works. But for now I want to run through the basics. I've categorized these into edge boxes, internal boxes, and uneven boxes, and then I'm going to do a little bit on how to design models. So, for example number 1, I have already folded here. Pretty much what's going to happen is we're going to have 4 appendages and then a stem. So if you want to think about it as a plant, you'll have 1 stem and then 4 leaves. Alright, so folding this together, what you would do is fold it kind of like an accordion all the way across. So you put in all the vertical creases, and then you go back and put in the horizontal creases that are formed by the diagonal lines, like so. There we go. So, a stem and 4 leaves. Or you could use this same idea as maybe if you made a dragon, you could have these as 4 claws. Or if you were to have 5 appendages, you could make a hand, and so on and so forth. So every time a vertical crease intersects a diagonal, it becomes a horizontal crease. And then when it intersects another diagonal, it reverses direction and becomes a vertical crease again. So easy enough. Oh, and the length of the diagonal crease determines how long the appendage will be. Okay, so that's example number 1. And number 2, still edge boxes, but they're a little bit different in size. So here we're going to have 1 appendage that's 2 units long, and then 1 that's 3 units long, and then 1 small one in the middle, and then the same thing is mirrored on the other side. So I will fold that real quick. Here it is. So once again, you fold it like an accordion, and then go back and put in all the horizontal creases, like this. There we go. So we have our stem here, which is 3 units long. And then we have 1 appendage here that's 2 units long. And then a 3 unit appendage that actually stems from the top of the stem. And then a 1 unit in the middle, and then the same thing on the other side. So that is part 2. 3. Number 3, I actually didn't make a physical unit for them, so we'll skip that and go straight to number 4. But I think this will be pretty straightforward after folding number 4. So here we have 1 long strip and then 2 internal boxes. One is a little larger than the other. So what will happen here is we'll have 2 appendages, each 3 units long, and then 1 unit in between, and then 2 more appendages, each one 2 units long, and then a stem of 2 units. And that's what this looks like. So here, begin by folding all the vertical creases. And then go back in and pop out those horizontal ones. Like this. I hope that makes sense. This concept took a little while for me to grasp when I was first getting into it a few years ago. There we go. And like that. So here are the upper appendages, each one is 3 units, and the lower appendages, each one is 2 units. And then 1 unit of space in between. Now, if you were to take this middle unit out, you would just have 2 long appendages, and then immediately below it you'd have 2 shorter appendages. So it just depends on what you're trying to fold. Going the wrong way. Okay, here we go. Uneven boxes, or irregular boxes. Anything that has, it's either combined, like there's 2 boxes, 2 or more boxes combined into one, or something that is longer on one side than it is on the other. So in this one we're going to end up with something that looks a little bit funky. So I'm going to fold it instead of trying to describe it to you. So once again, you make your vertical creases first. Then go pop out the horizontal creases. Like that. And that is what it looks like. So you have 2 units here. You have 1 appendage that sticks out 2 units from this stem. And then you have 2 units between the 2 stems. It's isometrical, so you can turn it either way you want, and it's the same. So that's one. What is that number? 4, 5. Number 5. That's number 5. And number 6. In the event that you want 1 appendage here, 1 appendage here, but only 1 on the other side instead of 2. Because if I had these 2 sections as 2 separate boxes, I would end up with 2 appendages on each side. But let's say I wanted 2 over here and 1 over here. I'd combine the 2 boxes to make 1. So for this is just a general rule of thumb. Make the vertical creases first, and then go back through and put the horizontal ones within each box. This. And like so. So we have our stem, which is 2 units. Then we have this 1 tiny little appendage here. That's 1 unit. And then we have 2 units between the small appendage and the next one. This appendage is 2 units. This appendage is 3, and then we have 2 at the top. And all of these are scanned, and they will be part of the video as well. I'll probably put them at the end. Okay, a little bit on diagramming, or designing. Let's say we want to make a beetle. You just draw whatever the figure is, and then translate that into origami form. So put it in rectangles, and then translate that into a stick figure form. And since this is symmetrical, we can forget about the whole right half from your perspective. Alright, so we're just going to design one half of it. And then you would assign values to the lengths of each appendage. So I want, say, the head to be 1 unit long, and the antenna to be 1 unit long. And then I want the front leg and the middle leg to each be 3 units, and then the back leg to be 4 units, and then the back of the abdomen to be 3 units. And then 1 unit in between each leg. So, this is actually a combination of circle packing and polygon packing. I prefer to use polygon packing, but I want to explain both methods, just to be clear. Polygons are easier for me to think about, but sometimes, some people like circles more than they like rectangles. Personal preference. So, you would make a circle of radius 3, 3, and 4 for each leg. So the whole diameter would be 8, 6, and 6. And then you draw a square each side of whatever this length is. However many units are in between the head and the leg, that's 2 units. So you draw a square of, and label it of 2 units. Then there's 1 unit between each leg. It's another box of 1 unit. And then between the middle and back leg, that's also 1 unit. So there's our third square. The back end of the abdomen is 3 units long, so that's a circle of radius 3, so diameter 6. And then up here at the top, we have an antenna and a head of each of length 1, so we have 2 circles, each one with radius 1. The radius of the circle refers to how long the appendage will be. So in this case, we have an appendage of 3, excuse me. So the radius of the circle would be 3. Then we find a way of putting all these circles onto a square. Obviously it's a rectangle, because we only have to worry about half the model anyway, since it's symmetrical about the center line. You'd arrange them in roughly the same form that they will be on the finished product. So we have an abdomen, back leg, middle leg, front leg, antenna, and head. So you want to arrange them about according to that pattern, or as close as you can get. So, when you have, any chance you can, try to fit the circles so that most of it is off the paper. And that's okay to do. But sometimes you'll end up with circles inside the model, like this. Didn't draw that, like this. And that just takes up more space. So try to avoid that when you can, if you think you're running out of paper. It's really easy to use up space, but it's very difficult to create it. So back here I've organized these circles. So the tail, or the back end of the tail, is in the center at the bottom of the square. Then the back leg, middle leg, front leg, antenna, and head. So I drew squares around each one of the circles, and then connected the center of the circle to the corner of the square. And you do that for each one. And you will eventually come up with a pattern of boxes that will form this figure, or this figure, and then you would shape it to this.